So you had the bling for the past 2 weeks. Okay. And who do you want to acknowledge today?
I don't think he's here, and I wanted to give it to someone who I think is very special. He has more courage than I could ever think of mustering up. And this goes to Brandon.
Brandon.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the example you set, Brandon. We love you.
So we're making a video of this right now, and we're going to send this to Brandon as he recuperates from brain surgery last week, right? So we're going to hang this, Brandon, in your honor this week, okay? Now you got to show up next week and pass it out, okay? Good job. Nice thought. Okay. Greg, what the hell is going on in the mortgage market? I predicted rates were going to negative, and you keep raising them. What up? You just trying to make me look bad?
Interest rates are still good. They're bouncing all over the place a little bit, kind of moving. That is as cute as can be. I hope that you have a picture of that. Can I go show that over at the club, by the way? Yeah. Okay. But there was a big announcement that has come out. If I say come out, it hasn't really been published yet, but it is out officially. The Treasury Department a week ago, just over a week ago, told Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the two agencies that do all of the, we sell all our mortgages to, that they have to limit their portfolio for second home and investment properties down to 7% of their portfolio. Now, what that means to you and I, currently, they're running just about 10% of their portfolio, which means they're going to have to drop from 10 to 7% over, starting up going forward. They don't have to drop it now, but going forward, they cannot go over 7%. So that means that somehow that's a 30% drop in what they're now buying for investment property and second home properties. So what the industry has already started to do is effective April 1st, when this goes into play, is they're obviously, the first thing they're doing is raising interest rates on investment properties and second homes. Now, quite frankly, Mike, I don't believe for a moment that somebody who wants to buy a second home, somebody who wants to invest, that they're going to all of a sudden, because they're going to pay an extra quarter to a half, and maybe on investment properties, maybe as much as another percentage point more, I don't think they're going to stop buying properties. I think what's going to happen is that it's going to, eventually they're going to start getting used to that rate, and they're going to keep buying, which means there'll be a second wave of things that are going to happen down the road. I do think at some point in time we may see that second homes will require more down. Right now it's only 10%. It might go to 15 or 20% down. I think that investment property has always been 20% down. That might go up to 25 or even 30% down if lenders are unable to manage to that 7% level. So that's what's going to happen, and that's starting April 1st, so you'll start seeing more about that. So if you have any buyers that are in your mix right now looking for second home and investment property, tell them to act today, because we've got till March 31st with binding contracts to lock in those current rates as opposed to what's going to happen after, because interest rates on those properties are clearly going up almost across the board.
Good.
Okay?
Good. Okay. Interesting. I would make that weekly video message and send it out to everybody in my database, but I just can't think of anything to say. If I only could think of something to say, I would do it. If only. And I say your content's laying on the ground all around you. Is that a message that you could use in your marketing? You think? Yeah, it is. I know it is. I don't know if you will. Will you? Can a collective head nod? You will, even in the back of the room? Yes, I will take this information. You know what? I bet if you twisted his arm really hard, if you were a little concerned, like I'm going to get it wrong, right? I might not get all the details just right or the terminology just right. I bet you could probably get Greg to be on the video with you. I bet you could. I don't know if you will, but I bet you could, right? Okay, so I'll stop teasing you about that, I think. I can go on a while. You want me to keep going? No. Hey, last week we started our touring agent program. Christina, would you give us a little update on this, please? How's it going so far? Have we had anybody volunteer to be a touring agent? Have we had anybody that needed one? Do we have any success stories?
Yes, we do. We have about 4 people have signed up for touring agents being available for us, for our clients, for our agents. And we completed 4 events so far.
Okay.
So 1 tour, a closing, a final walkthrough, and a lockbox drop-off.
Okay. Hey, I want to go to the beach on spring break with my family. Good. But I have a home buyer that wants to see a house while I'm there. Don't be the average agent and just abandon your customers. Don't abandon your family and sit there on your phone the whole time you're on vacation. This is meant to help you be in 2 places at one time. Some of you that are new and want a little experience, right? It's a good way for you to get the experience and generate a little money too. So it's good from both directions. Hope you'll take advantage of it, right? Good, thanks. Hey, thanks for coming up with the idea. Yeah,
Yes.
good idea.
Thank you.
Hey, we started our Easy Sell program last week too. If you will fill out the little profile sheet and turn it in with your listing automatically gets submitted into our Easy Sell program, goes out to 11 investor groups, and comes back to you within 72 hours in the form of a PDF spreadsheet where you get all 11 investors, whether they were willing to make an offer and what that offer is to your homeowner. And it doesn't cost you $1. Mike, I would make that weekly video message, but I just can't think of anything to talk about. Hint, hint. Okay, all right. Connect Cares. Have anybody peeked into our food pantry? Like, we're off to a pretty damn good start, aren't we? Right. Some of you went out and really brought in some food. And this is great. For those of you that might have missed it or forgotten, we started Connect Cares last week. This is where we were inspired by a local story of a lady that did this in her front yard. So we created our own food pantry. You can bring in 1 can of green beans. I don't care. Bring in 1 roll of toilet paper. Bring in something, anything, and just put it in the food pantry, which is right across from the help desk. And if you need something, take it. I'll assume if I open that up tonight and it's all empty, I don't care. I'll assume somebody needed it. That's what it's for. But every week we're going to identify somebody in need, and we're going to deliver to them some groceries, some supplies, maybe some gift cards to just try to help them every week. Okay? So you can, 1 can, watch how powerful this is. There's 100 of us. What if all of us brought in 1 can of food a week? Would it destroy your household budget? No, but that's 100 cans of food a week. We can feed a family on that, right? And we'll throw some gift cards in there so they can buy what they need. Little bitty things times a whole bunch of people can end up to be powerful. Make sense? Hope you'll take advantage of it. Today I want to talk to you about growing your business. Anybody want to talk about that? Yes. Okay, good. In order for this to be worth your time and effort, I'm going to need you to participate with me, okay? It might feel like I don't want you to. I just get rolling and talking. But raise your hand, interrupt me, scream out, jump up and down, I don't care. But this really needs to be a conversation. And if it's not, then it's just me taking an hour of your time today. Make sense? But we all have 2 problems. We all have one or both of 2 problems. Number 1, I need more business. Now, Lisa always needs that. Lisa put 7 properties to close this month, and Lisa would say, I need more business. That's Lisa's standard answer to everything. Yeah, 7's nice. I need 8. We all Most of us need more business. And then when we have more business, we need to learn how to manage it effectively so that we're not working all the time. And we do a good job. Make sense? Okay, so today we're going to focus on the first one. How do we get more business? So I'm fanatical about this. Target audiences. It's everything. Why do you think Greg's here this morning?
Because we're his target audience.
Because we're his target audience, right? This to him would be called an event, right? Watch it and observe it when people do it with you. And watch how they do it. And take notes on what you think is good and what's not good and what you might do differently. And then apply it to your business. A target audience is just simply an area of specialty, okay? It's an area of focus. It's a niche. I don't really care what you call it. That's what it is. You watch professionals around you do it all the time, don't you? You have a doctor? You do? Okay, good. Think about your doctor for a second. So I have a doctor too, Dr. Arnie. Dr. Arnie he only sees guys. There's no women. Jane, you're not allowed to go see Dr. Arnie. And that's actually a good thing, because Dr. Arnie is the best looking man I've ever seen in my life. Dr. Arnie is so good looking that if he did see women, I would not allow Jane to go see him. He looks like George Clooney with green eyes. Like, he is purty. But if I have a heart attack, Dr. Arnie's going to send me to the hospital. I have a neighbor who's a vascular surgeon. I'm playing pickup basketball. I shouldn't have been. Joe, there's like a magic line of age, and you hit that line and you keep your shirt on and you don't play pickup basketball anymore. I don't know what age that is, but many of us in the room have hit that age already. So I'm playing pickup basketball. I twist my ankle fairly bad. And I said, so Mark, hook me up here. He's like, oh, I'm going to hook you up. You're going to get in my car. I'm going to take you to the ER. I'm like, well, you went to medical school. Damn, you do heart surgery. He goes, yeah, I don't touch ankles. He has a niche. He has an area of specialty. You have a heart attack, he's all over that. You twist your ankle, get in the car, we're going to the ER. I'm taking you to a guy that does ankles. But he went to medical school too. Yeah, but I don't touch ankles. Without this, you can't answer the single most important question in your business. You can't. Who is going to buy and sell homes with you this year? And most of us cannot answer that question. So you just wake up every day and you're hoping to bump into people that want to buy or sell a home this year. And that's your strategy. But I got bad news for you. Hope is not a strategy. You're hoping that somebody you know in your sphere of influence, you might call it, wants to buy or sell a home this year. But you don't know. You don't have a strategy behind it. You're just hoping. And target audience answers the question, who is going to buy and sell homes with you this year? And that's the biggest question each of us has to answer every day. If you can't speak to it very specifically, you're in trouble. Why is this so important? Why are you in trouble if you can't answer it? Because you won't be able to focus a marketing message. You might say, hey, Greg, sit down with me and make a video about whatever the hell you were talking about this morning that just went right over my head. I don't even know who Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are. Or I've heard the terms, but I don't really get what they do. Okay, Greg says, great, I'll sit down with you and make a 60-second video and we'll talk about it. And you do. And maybe you take it to Rob and you say, hey, can you edit this and polish it up a little bit, make it look really good? And he does. Like, well, you're rocking, right? Okay, now who are you going to send it to? Who's going to get it? Okay. Hey, if you don't know who your target audience is, you won't know who to send it to. You'll just like, well, I put it on Facebook. Well, hey, cancel all of your appointments because you're about to get really busy if you put it on Facebook, right? You don't know who to send it to. You don't know who to focus your message on. You don't know how to define an appropriate strategy. Oh man, this is so important. This is so important. David, who's your target audience?
For sale owners and expires.
Okay. Hey, what I want you to do is, what do you do to become the top of mind credible agent? What's your go-to task every day? He's trying to figure out if it's a trick question or not. It's not. What's your primary activity every day?
25 contacts a day.
How do you make the contacts?
Via phone.
Via phone. Okay, so you got to get on the phone and you got to keep dialing until you speak with 25 for sale by owners today.
Takes me about 4 hours.
Okay, great. Hey, nah. Good news, you don't have to do that anymore. I just want you to send out like 3 handwritten personal notes a day. Forget that whole phone thing. Just send out handwritten note cards, about 3 to 5. How's that going to work?
Not well.
Not well. Not well. If you don't know who your target audience is, you're not going to be able to define an appropriate strategy. Hey, Jane and I attend a really large church. There's like 8,000 or 9,000 people there. How about if I do this? Well, David, I hear David on the phone. Y'all hear David on the phone? He's pretty good, isn't he? Yeah, he doesn't suck. He's good. David, you're good. So I'm going to do what David does. I'm going to start cold calling the people at church. Hey, Jane, how's that going to go? Likewise, Joe, ring, ring.
Hello?
Hey, Joe, it's Mike from church. Hey, just a quick call to see if you've thought about buying or selling a home this year. Have you?
Yeah.
Tad creepy? More than a tad creepy. That's just wrong. You don't do that. Hey, those of you that work with your sphere of influence, and that's where a lot of your business comes from. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Why don't you do that with your friends? Call them up. Hey, Lisa, what's up, girl? You want to buy a house this year?
Not with you.
You're mixing strategies and audiences. It's just wrong. It won't work. It'll actually... I want to work with the people I go to church with. Okay, well, why don't I walk up and down the aisle before the service starts on Sunday handing out business cards? Why not? Tell you what, I'm clever though. I'm clever. I want to do this. That takes too much time. I'm just going to, Jane, here's what I'm going to do Sunday morning, okay? I'm going to put a stack of my business cards in the collection tray, and then it gets passed around for me, right? So put your $10 in, take one of my cards out. That's funny. It's so wrong, it's funny. Hey, is there occasions where, Ellen, do you ever have occasions where handing out business cards is actually effective in your world?
Not lately, because it's all been on Zoom.
But non-Zoom. Yeah. So she pursues a networking strategy. Handing out cards is part of the deal, right? Well, if I'm trying to work with the people I go to church with, handing out cards might be a tad creepy, right? If you don't know who your target audience is, you're going to get your strategy wrong. It's either going to be inappropriate and push people away from you, or it's just not going to work. You're just going to spin your wheels. Key concepts in selecting the right target audience for you. Man, this is important. This is important. Do you have unique access to a group? So Philip and Leanne in the group, who's your target audience?
Martin's Landing.
Martin's Landing. How many homes in Martin's Landing?
2,000-ish.
2,000-ish? Yeah. Yeah. Hey, is that a legitimate target audience? We would classically refer to that as geographic farming, right? You pick a neighborhood, you work the neighborhood, you become the top of mind, credible expert, the neighborhood real estate agent to the people that live in that neighborhood, right? Okay, where do you live? Oh, you live in Martin's Landing. Okay. You think it's a trick question. It's not. So by living in the neighborhood, do they have unique access? They do. They're part of the neighborhood. They get access to information that I wouldn't get. If I just wanted to work Martin's Landing, they would have a huge advantage over me, wouldn't they? Yeah, they would. Jane and I used to live in Horseshoe Bend. That's 2,100 homes. They did the most amazing thing, I thought, as a real estate agent. Like as a real estate agent, nobody else on my street does it register with them, but to me, I leap for joy. You ever see the Steve Martin movie, The Jerk? It reminded me of that. Remember, he goes to the mailbox and the phone books arrived, back when we had phone books, and he's running around leaping for joy. The phone book's here, the phone book's here. Horseshoe Bend used to send out a directory. Put it in your mailbox. Everybody that lives in the neighborhood, their names, their phone number, their cell number, their email address, their kids' names and ages, their pets' names. Holy cow, you just stuck this in my mailbox? 2,100 homes? Yeah, I lived in there. If you didn't live in there and you wanted to work that neighborhood, would I have a huge advantage over you? I would. You wouldn't be able to beat me. They just give me all that information. You will take years to create it. Rip's got COVID right now. Then he gave it to his whole family. So he's particularly popular in his house this morning. Okay? Rip used to be a pastor, a youth pastor at the church that Jane and I attend, Perimeter Church. Huge church, gigantic, 9,000 people. Rip was on staff there. He had everybody's name, phone number, and email address in a database when he stopped working there and just went full-time into real estate. Is that a huge advantage? Yes. He's got a 9,000 person database of people that are already familiar with him. What if you started attending church with us, but you don't have that? Is that a huge advantage for Rip? Yes. So for me, or for Rip, or for the Maxwells, we have unique access to a large group of people. Pay attention to that. If you do, you got to pay attention to it. That's an indicator of maybe who your target audience should be. You just have unique access to a large group of people. What's the appropriate size for your target audience? I would say this: if it's less than 500, it's a non-starter. There's not enough business there to get a return on your investment. If it's more than 1,500, it's probably too big to get started with. One of the problems Rip has is that database is so massive, he's having difficulty with it. Poor Rip. You just have too many people in your CRM, and it's too big. You keep breaking the email programs, and oh, poor Rip. Yeah. Hey, what do they call that? First world problems? Yeah. Right. We all want to have those kind of problems. That's unique access to him. You can be envious of it. You just can't duplicate it. The Maxwells live in a neighborhood with 2,000 homes. They would be foolish to be looking elsewhere for a target audience, wouldn't they? When it lives all around them. You might have an area of interest. You might just say, like, I like this and I want to be there all the time. So I want those people to be my target audience. An example of that might be me. If I wanted to get back into listing and selling tomorrow, oh, I know exactly what I do. Huh? Golf. Yeah. I have 1,000 people, members in my golf club. Greg's the same way. I go over and play golf with Greg at his club. Oh, He's good though. See, he does it right. I mean, he's not Mr. Sales Guy. He's not walking up and down the practice range going, hey, who needs a mortgage out here? Greg's here with First Community Mortgage. Anybody need some help? He's not doing that. He's just, everybody knows him. He's Mr. Friendly. Everybody likes him. He's walking around talking to people. Is he talking to them about mortgages? No, he's not. They just know him and they like him. It doesn't cause them to, well, I like Greg, I guess I should just go get a mortgage. No, but if they want to buy a house and they need financing, well, I know him. He seems like a decent guy. Why would I deal with somebody I don't know if I see this guy all the time? Same thing with me. It's just what I like to do. So I would say, here's what I say to my wife. I was like, hey, Jane, if I don't play golf this weekend, it'll cost us a lot of money. Yeah, it didn't work any better on her than it just worked on you. I just get the look like, you know, I'd probably prefer for you to go play golf all weekend. Just get out of here. I just go hang out at my golf club, get to know everybody, let them get to know me. Don't be an objectionable human being. I have access to these people. It's what I like to do, which means I'll probably do it. You know who another example is? Selena. Selena, who's your target audience?
Business owners
Where?
in Canton, Woodstock,
Okay. Why?
because I like networking and talking to people.
Oh, hell yeah, she does.
I really like using video, and so I want to help with their marketing, and so I'll interview them and then put the business spotlight on my social media channels and blast it out to them with the idea that they're going to refer my name out when they hear somebody talking about yourself.
So she gets so excited about it. She'll come into the office. I got to tell you. And I'm like, I don't think that girl's going to sleep tonight. I mean, she just gets really excited. She likes it. And because she likes it, it comes out. And now she's got people coming to her and saying, hey, can we put you in our magazine like every month? Well, how much? No charge. Why? She's getting hyper involved, right? But she likes it. Put her and an Ellen in a room together, they'll light up, they'll power the whole city. If you could figure out how to harness it, we wouldn't need like coal or wind or anything. Willing to complete an action. David, who's your target audience?
First-time owners and expires.
What do you do to become the top of mind, credible expert with them?
I make a lot of phone calls.
Okay.
And understand.
So you have to make, how many phone calls do you have to make?
I have to make at least 25 contacts per day.
How many dials is that?
100 to 150 depending on the answer rate.
How long does that take?
Approximately about 4 hours.
Okay, now a little be honest for a second and play with me here. Who's willing to do that today? Raise your hand with me. 4 hours on the phone with, are they all nice and polite?
95% of them.
Yeah. Some of them rude?
Very few.
Okay, who's willing to do this with me today? I'll sit with you and do it. 4 hours, 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock this afternoon. Ellen's shaking her head, oh hell no. Leanne, you and me, baby. I'll come in your office, you and me, 4 hours on the phone this afternoon. David's willing to do it. He actually doesn't understand the rest of you. Bob's willing to do it. They don't understand y'all. When Bob started 5 years ago, I was like, so we're going to have to come up with a target audience for you. And he was like, well, everybody I know lives in mom and dad's basement. He was 24, 25 years old, right? So we start, okay, so what areas of interest do you have? I like going to sports bars and watching basketball and hockey games. Okay. Any other interest? No, not really. I'm like, okay. So, well, you went to Kennesaw State for a while. What'd you major in? He goes, sales. I'm like, really? I didn't even know they had a major like that. Nobody likes sales. He goes, why not? This is a real conversation. Actually happened. If you doubt me, ask him. Well, I like it. Nobody likes it. They just do it because they have to. He goes, no, I like it. I'm like, you mean like cold calls? He goes, yeah, I'll do that. I'm like, you don't mind? He goes, why would I mind? Isn't that what everybody else here does? I'm like, oh, hell yeah, that's what they're all doing right now. They're all out there. When you don't see them around here, it's because they're at home pounding out hours of cold calls. That's where they are. Or showing property. Y'all are so full of BS. You think I'm buying that stuff? He just doesn't get why y'all don't want to pick up the phone. David doesn't get it either. Y'all go into these rooms and close the door because you don't want anybody to hear you. David just stands out there in the middle. You have to listen to him. He doesn't care what you think. He doesn't get why you care what anybody else thinks or why you're not willing to do it. He's just willing to do it. Ellen pursues a networking strategy. I've told Ellen this a dozen times. I'll say the same thing to Selena. If I wanted to pursue a networking strategy and compete with you, you would so whoop my ass. You would destroy me. You know why? God, I hate that stuff. Like, I have to do it still, but oh my God. Hey, Rob, why don't you and me go to like a Chamber of Commerce cocktail party and stand around and chit chat with people for 2 hours? You want to do that? I'm like, can you see Rob's eyes behind that mask? Like, Rob ain't doing that. I'm not. God, I hate that stuff. Chit chat, small talk. Ellen Kelly, holy. How you ever get her to go home at night? She's like the person in the bar where, like, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here, right? She doesn't want it to end. Selena, she doesn't want it to end. They love that stuff. They would destroy me. Why? They like doing the action. Well, they should do a networking strategy, and I should not, right? Questions, comments. Disagree. Tell you, stop me. When you disagree with something, stop me. I want to hear it. You're uniquely good at something. Again, Ellen's the example with this. Like, I swear, do you breathe through your eyelids? How do you do that? She's got gills or something. You're uniquely good at something. Hey, David, we all have to listen to you on the phone. Hey, you're pretty good. You don't suck. You're good at it. There's things that all of you are uniquely good at. Pay attention to that. That could be where your target audience comes from. For Ellen and I in our conversations, it wasn't hard. It wasn't hard at all. It's just like, we just got to get you in front of people where chit-chatting, socializing, talking is actually an asset. It's a benefit. You like to do it. You're good at it. Selena, you're awesome at it. Great networker. She comes in the other morning, has like 2 handfuls full of business cards. And she's all excited about it. I would have left after the 10th one. That was always my deal. I got to get 10 business cards and then I can leave. Because if I didn't make some kind of deal with myself, I'd go in there and leave after 10 minutes. No, I got to stay and get 10 cards. Selena needs like a wheelbarrow to bring them all in. She likes it. She's good at it. Make sure you're willing to implement the strategy. The strategy comes after the target audience. But once you have an idea of what group of people you want to focus on, we need to talk about what the effective strategy is for that target audience, and you need to make sure you're willing to do it. Don't focus on for sale by owners. Don't tell me that your focus is going to be on, I would never isolate anybody out on this. That would be so rude. And I'm not allowed to move around. Rob gets mad at me. Do not focus on for sale by owners if you aren't willing to make the calls every day. It won't work. If you're not willing to do the strategy, if you're not willing to go to the networking events and engage with people and then implement a very robust follow-up plan with them, don't do it. Hey, if you're not willing, geographic farming, Easter's coming up like this, okay? You sponsor an Easter egg hunt in Martin's Landing. Why? Because nobody hates somebody that holds an Easter egg hunt for little kids. You can't hate somebody that does that. Well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be down there when the pool opens this spring and give out ice cream to the little kids. Then geographic farming ain't your thing. Well, I want to do it, but it ain't your thing. You might want to do it. You might hear David. You might see Bob's production and go, well, I should do that. Yeah, but you won't implement the strategy. You need to consider that. Pitfalls to avoid. Watch out. Don't make these mistakes. Making it too broad. First-time home buyers. Well, I'm going to work with first-time home buyers. Fascinating. Now, all you have to do is market yourself to 7 million people. So let's get going. I think you need about 50 billboards to get started, and you need at least one radio spot. Rob, what would a 30-second radio spot on 680 The Fan cost?
David was in sales.
Prime time, you're $1,000 probably,
Yeah, I was gonna say
500, 600 bucks.
Per ad?
Per ad. Between 500 and 1,000.
Okay, so you just need to spend about $5,000 a day on radio spots, and I think your billboard's going to cost you between $4,000 and $5,000 a month. Okay, that's all you got to do. You want to work with first-time home buyers? Well, which ones? And how are they going to know about you? Right? It's way too big. Oh, this is another popular. Well, I'm going to be a senior specialist. Okay, that's legitimate group of people. Again, how you going to find them? How they going to know about you? You're just going to have to market yourself to 7 million people to get to the seniors. I don't know, is there a radio station out there that only allows people over 55 to listen to it? There's not? I don't know. It's way too big. It's way too broad. It's not nearly specific enough. An example of how to drill this down would be, well, where do first-time home buyers, where are they living right now? Apartments. Still way too big. Which apartments? Well, the ones in Roswell. Way too big still. Keep in mind, your target audience has got to be between 500 and 1,500. Right now, you've just drilled apartments in Roswell down. You're probably talking about 10,000 units. You can't, it's too big to get started. You'll be too little butter spread over too much bread. You won't be able to make an impact. You won't have the resources to do it. Does that make sense? Well, then what do we do? How about Caliber Creek Apartments? Just one apartment complex? Well, there's 1,000 units in there, sweetie pie. 5% of the U.S. population is going to move this year. That's what you know. What you don't know is which 5%. Wouldn't that be great to know? Yeah, that's the statistic I want somebody to send to me. It's 5%. And by the way, hey, Mike, it's these 5%. You'll have to focus on that apartment complex and market to all 1,000 units, but you'll know, plus or minus a little bit, 50 of them are going to move this year. Are they all going to buy houses? No. But if only half of them do, that's still 25 transactions. Is that good? Yeah. You just don't know which 25. So you got to market to all 1,000. You try to market to all apartments in Atlanta, well, you just better have a really big budget. Make sense? Because it worked for somebody else. Well, I watched Bob. Bob sold 23 million working for sale by owners and expired, so that's what I'm going to do. That's him. That may or may not be you. Don't do it just because somebody else is doing well at it. David's doing really well right now. Don't do it just because David's doing well at it. You aren't David. David's not you. You may not be willing to implement the strategy. And if you don't like it, you aren't, come on. It's just us, the doors are closed. If you don't like it, are you going to do it?
Nope.
You are not. You're going to come up with reasons every day not to do it. Watch. Just don't raise your hand. Just kind of like think to yourself, yeah, that's me. Distractions. Mike, I would do it. But the distractions, my God, they're just, I'm just too many. And COVID and all these things. And I go, it's call avoidance. You don't want to do it, and your brain, because you don't want to do it, your brain's desperately coming up with justifications. And the more clever you are, the better your bullshit. You can ask Jane, I come home at night and she'll go, how was today? And I go, God, I love our people. And she'll go, really? And I go, yeah, I do. They're so smart. They're so clever. You should hear the bullshit Lisa Lewis put out at me today. She almost had me going along with it. And then I go, no. But good. I was starting to walk down the path with you. Everybody in your life goes along with your bullshit because they don't know any better. They go, wow, Jeff, okay. Well, I mean, you did well last year. I think you know what you're doing. That sounds right. God, the distractions, I don't know how you deal with it. I mean, your life has so many burdens. Poor you. I'm like, no. Not poor him. I posted something last week on Facebook about work ethic. And somebody commented and said, basically, well, don't forget to stop and smell the roses sometime. And I'm like, no. Don't say that to them. They don't need to be told to stop and smell the roses. They do that plenty well enough on their own. The more clever you are, the better your bullshit. And you'll actually start to believe it. And then when you come in and sit with me on coaching sessions, I go, well, it sounds like call avoidance. Sounds like your ego. Sounds like, well, that's a bunch of bullshit. And you go, well, I didn't come in here to be told I was full of bullshit. I'm like, well, you are. And then you don't like it. Well, somebody, and that typically falls onto Joe and I, somebody has to be the one person on the planet to go, hey, Manuela, that is such a bunch of bullshit that you just laid out. Somebody has to be willing to do that. You're not going to have your family and friends to do it. They don't know your business well enough to know. And you guys are clever. Don't do it because it works for somebody else. If it's not you, it's not going to work. Not building a target audience at all. Big pitfall. If you're sitting here in the room right now and you're going, yeah, I don't really have one, or I kind of have one, but I'm not committed to it, that's the mistake most of us make. And the average agent in Atlanta sells just a shade over 3 houses a year. And you can't live in Atlanta on 3 houses a year. But why? Because they're just selling houses to their family and friends. And there's all kinds of hucksters out there, carnival barkers, trying to get your credit card number. Look, during the last few years of my career, I did a lot of bank-owned foreclosure stuff, right? I did more than anybody in the world. And I get the emails every day now, oh, foreclosures are about to be an avalanche on the market. You know, sign up for my webinar and learn how to get your fair share of this business. That is total bullshit. That is not going to happen anytime in the foreseeable future. They just want your credit card number. Relying on your sphere of influence and referrals. Probably an epidemic problem in our industry. Who's your target audience? My sphere. I got some bad news for you. I know that's why you got into the business. And I know that you desperately want to believe that that's true. You do not know enough people. You do not know enough people. Nobody in the room does that are going to move this year to run a business off of it. You need to look at that as vacation money, found money. I'm going to buy a new car money. You cannot pay your bills off of your sphere of influence. And if you try to, here's what will happen. You will have a good year. You will have a year when you just happen to know a whole bunch of people that needed to move. It was just coincidence. And you will think, oh, I finally figured this out. No, next year won't be anything like that. You, on a bar graph, you'll look like this, but it'll really look more like this. Good year, bad years, plural. Oh, had another good year. This is working again. Bad years, plural. You don't know enough people. Unless you are a member of the Lucky Sperm Club and you just happen to have this vast social network that you can claim no credit for because Daddy just introduced it to you. Unless you are that person, you cannot make a living off your sphere of influence and referrals. And that's why you're struggling. You're not struggling because you suck. You're not struggling because of the company you're at or the CRM that you use. You're struggling because you're just trying to run a real estate business, pay your bills off your friends and family, people you know. You don't know enough people. And here's one more piece of bad news. In Atlanta, with the second highest concentration of real estate agents in North America, only Toronto has a higher concentration of real estate agents than Atlanta does. Everybody you know in your sphere knows 11 other real estate agents on average. So even though you don't know enough people to run a business off of, even some of the people that you do know aren't going to do business with you. And it doesn't have anything to do with how good of friends you are. They know 11 other real estate agents and they have relationships that trump their relationship with you. It's not anything against you. It's just like, well, Manuela, you and I are friends, but Greg and I have been friends for 30 years. So I can only hire one of you. So I got to go with the deeper relationship. Sometimes I know you too well, and I don't want you knowing my business. Bob's aunt and uncle listed their $2 million house with another agent, didn't even tell him. And that agent sold 2 houses the year before. Why'd they do that? They don't want Bob knowing their business. That's why. You try to run your business off your sphere of influence, you're going to get spanked. You're going to have a good year every once in a while. I hope it's this year, but you don't really know. Every January 1st, you won't have any idea how much money you're going to make this year. You'll have good years, you'll get spanked. Thinking that social media is a target audience. Facebook is not a target audience. Instagram is not a target audience. Well, I'm connected to 5,000 people on Facebook. Well, la-di-da. Good for you. All that is a way to stay connected to your target audience. It's a touch point. It's a touch point. It isn't the touch point. Please don't miss it. Rob's sitting up here nodding his head. Am I semi-right about that? I talk to a lot of real estate agents, and I am shocked at the number. Who's going to buy and sell homes with you? Well, I'm connected to a lot of people on social media. So, I am too. I don't think they're going to do business. I don't think of it like that. It's just a way of me frequently and relevantly staying connected to my target audience. It's just a tool. It's not the audience. Questions? Okay. Too big, too small. If it's less than 500, you're not going to make enough money to make it worth your time. If it's too big, you're not going to make enough money to make it worth your time. It'll overwhelm you. I admire the ambition. It's just too big. It's got to be 500 to 1,500 to get started, and then you expand it as you grow your business. Swimming against the current. Don't make it harder on yourself than it needs to be. Geo-farming, we talked about this. If you don't live in the neighborhood, you're swimming against the current. Is it impossible? It's not impossible. I worked in neighborhoods that I didn't live in. It's just harder. Why swim against the current if you can just turn around and float down the stream with it? Pick something that works with you, not something you're having to fight all the time. Networking. From what you've heard from me this morning, if I want to get back into listing and selling as an agent, Lisa, should I be a networking specialist? No, I hate that shit. I hate it. I admire people that, Selena, all the street cred in the world to you. I don't know how you do it. I would have to take a nap for like 3 days after that. Action steps. What do you do? Once you picked your target audience, well, first you come sit with me and I'll help you build a strategy, because your strategy better be correct for that audience or you're going to push them away from you. But this is where your CRM comes into play. I mean, this is a constant. You'll never be done with this. You'll never be done. So those of you, before you do this, before you come into my office and I say, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, how consistent are you sending out your weekly video message via email to everybody in your database? Well, I'm still working on that database. If you say that to me, I'm going to kick you out of my office. You will always be working on your database. It will never be done. If you're waiting to take action until you get it perfect, that's bullshit. And I'm going to call you on the bullshit. That's call avoidance. You're avoiding doing it, and when you say that to anybody but me, they're going to go along with you. Well, can I help you build your? No. Don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. You send it to whoever you have in there. Well, I want to send it to more people. Well, then get more people in your CRM. It needs to be part of every day. Connect via social media. Social media is a tool for connecting with your target audience. Robust. Rob, frequency's annoying?
No.
What's it? It's not?
No.
Lack of relevancy is annoying. Silly puppy videos every day is annoying. Okay? So robust, actively using social media all the time, and searching for relevant content. Well, Sam, I haven't seen you post anything on social media for a week. Well, I couldn't think of anything. Get out. It's laying on the floor. You are the creator of relevant content. There's your elevator speech right there. So what do you do for a living, Manuel? I'm the creator of relevant content. I'm sorry, I'm entertaining myself right now. I'm having a good time. I hope you guys are too. Your job, please, if you're like doing stuff right now, if you're not, you fade in, I know, my wife doesn't pay attention to me either, but for 10 seconds, pay attention. Your job is to market yourself. I don't know what you thought you were getting into. I don't know what I thought I was getting into. Our job is not to show homes and unlock doors. It is not. It is not to list property. It's not to do any of those things. Mark Spain's company has an 82-18 split. You get 18. He gets 82. And he has 130 agents working there today. You know why? They just want to go on appointments. That's all they do. And if you've seen any of Mark's billboards about speaking to real estate agents, not consumers, it says, we set your appointments for you. They love that shit. That's all they want to do. And you too. Be honest with yourself. Me too. I got into this business because I wanted to show luxury homes driving around in a 500 series Mercedes. That's what I thought it was. You don't get paid for that. You get paid for marketing yourself. And if you don't do that, folks, if you don't do a good job of it, you're going to be the best real estate agent nobody knows about. I would rather you be Dwayne, don't listen to this. I want you to be the worst freaking real estate agent in Atlanta and have 1,000 customers banging on your door. We'll figure the rest out. Dwayne doesn't, I was on Broker on Call last week, and he desperately hates that, don't you?
Yes.
Why? Watch. He'll tell you the truth.
Problem, by all means, I'll say, call Mike. What form do I need to do this? Call Dwayne. That's good.
So he came to me last week, he goes, you're on call this week. And I go, good. I like being on call. I think it's fun. And he goes, why don't we get Joe to do it? And I'm like, why? He goes, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, yeah, that's right, but don't tell anybody, okay? He goes, they all know. Yeah, you want to market yourself? Oh, come in. I am good at that. I think I am. I'm pretty damn sure I am. What form you're supposed to use on an amendment? I don't even know where are the forms? I'm the worst real estate agent. Jane and I bought a house 2 years ago. I didn't hire me. I got somebody else to help us. Why? I suck. But I can market myself. I can bring business in the door. That's all you get paid for. That is all you get paid for. And watch, that is the one thing most of us won't do today. We will not market ourselves. And I say, God, that's the only thing anybody's going to pay you for. Once you have the customer, you can totally suck. The customer doesn't really know until it's too late. You know this is true. I can prove it to you right now. How many people in this room have worked with a co-op agent and you thought, damn, you suck? Everybody in the room. And you sit there and think at the closing table, do you not sit there and think this, like, why did you work with this sorry real estate agent? They didn't know any different. They didn't know they sucked, or they wouldn't have done it. After it's all done, then they say to you, oh, my agent sucked. Well, why'd you work with them? I didn't know they sucked until it was too late. Right? You can suck and still make a lot of money. I did. I just hire smart people like Dwayne to back me up. Hey, make me look good. Rob, make me look good. All right, they're winking at each other right now. They know. Daily phone contacts. Every day. It's part of your day. You build it into your schedule. You talk. David, how many people are you going to talk to today?
25.
25. All of you have a certain number of daily contacts. Your day's not over until you do that. Weekly video message you send out via email. Of course, everybody in the room. What day and time do you make your weekly 60-second or less video message? Lisa, what is your weekly message?
What is it or when is it?
Both.
That's a good question. Whenever I decide to make it that way.
No, that's not true at all. Thirsty Thursdays. If Lisa doesn't do her Thirsty Thursday video, there's a brouhaha in my house. Jane is going, well, where's Lisa's Thirsty Thursday? Well, we don't make those drinks anyhow. I know, but I like to see it. Lisa probably wonders if anybody's watching. Hey, we're watching. My wife's watching. And she gets all pissed off when you don't do it. What day and what time do you make your message? Well, I couldn't think of anything. Well, I don't feel comfortable. I don't like how I look. I don't like how I sound. Hey, grow up. Grow the hell up. Golly, is your ego that little delicate? Get over yourself. Or don't make any money. There's your two choices. Monthly newsletters. Yeah, everybody in your target audience should get a monthly newsletter to you. Well, Mike, that's like 1980-something strategy. Yeah, it is. But I want to hit them everywhere they go. I want to be on their phone. I want to be in their email. I want to be on their Facebook and Instagram. And when they go to the mailbox, there I am. I'm hitting you everywhere. Is that annoying? No. It is if I'm irrelevant. But if I'm talking to you about what's important to you in your life, and if you're my target audience, I should know. I'm your real estate agent. There's blamers, shamers, and claimers, right? Some people sit around and blame everybody else. Some people sit around and blame themselves, call themselves some pretty horrible names. And some people just get over that shit. What Brian's saying is, hey, when it comes to motivation, some of you think that it's natural. Some of you think that there's something wrong with you, that you're not more motivated. You sit around and call yourself some pretty bad names. And what Brian say to you is, it ain't natural. The people you think are naturally motivated, you just don't know them well enough. They struggle with things too. It's hard for me to get up in the morning sometimes. Sometimes it's not. Some days I feel highly motivated. Other days I don't. Some days I'm in a good mood. Some days I'm not. But don't miss it. Consistency is what separates the highly productive from the lowly productive. Now, the highly productive do not wake up motivated and inspired every day. They've just figured out how to get themselves motivated and inspired. And that's it. So when he says that to you, what I add on to that is, don't rely on yourself to be that good. You won't be. Find the voices, the things, the stuff. For me, it was people like Brian and other people and a whole bunch of different motivational speakers. Sometimes music, right? Well, that's what worked for me. What works for you? I don't know. That's what you have to figure out. But what I know is this. Too many of us are sitting here right now thinking, I will force myself to be naturally motivated and inspired every day. You won't. You ain't that good. You're going to have days when you don't want to get out of bed. You're going to have days when you don't want to go to work. You're going to have days when you don't feel like it. You're going to have days when you're in a bad mood and you don't want to hear my shit from you anymore. You've just heard it enough. You're going to have all those days mixed in with your good ones. The key to all this is to figure out how to manage yourself through the low peak days. How to get yourself. So, old man story, okay, alert. In the back of my car was full of cassettes. Yeah, I'm that old. Some of you know what I'm talking about. I had every cassette you could think of. I had Tony Robbins, Napoleon Hill, Les Brown, motivational stuff. I had Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry, Brian Buffini, Joe Stump, Zig Ziglar. I had it all. There's nothing of that stuff I wouldn't buy. And I was always listening to it. Probably the only thing I ever did right. Probably. Because I didn't have a strategy. Nobody was helping me. I didn't have a coach. Nobody was working with me all the time to do things on purpose. All I did by accident was I figured out how to get myself motivated to do things I didn't want to do. I did a lot of door knocking. Never wanted to. Always felt like a vacuum cleaner salesman. Horrible, horrible, horrible activity. Truth is, I would love you to believe that I was so dynamic, motivated, and inspired that I just wanted to do it every day. Wasn't true. Truth is, I drive around in my car for 20, 30 minutes sometimes, listening to cassettes, for you it would be CDs, trying to get myself to the point where I would stop the car and get out. And if I could just do that, I was okay. Once I got started, and all of you that have tried an exercise program, you know this is true. The hard part's getting there. The hard part's starting every day. The hard part's getting your ass out of bed. And David, you run in the morning, right? Tell me if I'm wrong. I think the hard part's to get your ass out of bed and get outside and get moving.
Always.
And once you start, you feel good. Right. It's hard to, how do you get started? You have to figure that out. To the degree that you can figure that out for yourself, I say is the degree of success that you're going to experience. Some of you will wrestle with this a little tougher than others, but everybody's wrestling with it. So when Brian says mindset, oh yeah. Quit blaming the rest of the world for my problems. Motivation. Find your motivation. Every Sunday, I give you guys a little post, a poke, And you'll notice one of the things on my checklist is, do you have your motivational voice selected for the week? You need it. You need it. I need it. We all need it. There's nothing wrong with you. You just need a poke. Okay? Your target audience. We're going to leave now. You struggle with this, you're not sure what the right one is, you think you have an idea of the right one, but you're not sure what the appropriate strategy should be. My office is right outside that back door, and I exist for that. I do not exist to be broker on call. I exist to sit in there and talk to you about how to market yourself, because it's the only thing anybody's ever going to pay you for, no matter what you want to believe. Okay? Let's go to work.